What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Spent Brass channel. I know I haven't put a lot of video content up lately, but we've been busy with a lot of other stuff. You know, one thing I thought we'd address today was we get a lot of questions around where we shoot. And I get them on the forums, I get them on the questions and the videos, so in the comments. So I thought I would talk through kind of like how this whole area came about and walk you through how we have it set up now, and maybe even have a couple ideas pop up of stuff we want to do in the future. So let me introduce you guys to the Hideout. The Hideout is a 10-acre parcel of land that I purchased, gosh, probably a couple years ago now, and have been slowly working on and growing and evolving over the past couple years. I got the land for really cheap. It's outside of Phoenix, Arizona. I'm not going to tell you exactly where it is because I feel like that would kind of blow up our spot. But it's in a pretty remote area. It takes about 45 minutes to get out here from my house, and I live towards the edge of town. So, it's in a place where there's not a lot of other people, and it's far enough away from houses and things like that where we can do the type of shooting that we want without worrying about, it being dangerous. And one of the reasons I got this land for so cheap is because a lot of it's not buildable, which actually ends up being really good for me and the rest of the crew because we have natural backstops built into the course, which is really cool. So we didn't have to worry about backstops. They're kind of built into the course. This was just raw land when I got it, but we cleared out like a driveway and a parking lot, and we just used a bobcat to do that. We rented a bobcat for a day and got out here, realized that the bobcat was going to sink into the sand, which made it really hard, but I'll give you a walkthrough. So this is the parking lot. We've got some just scrap materials here. We cleared it out so we can fit 10 or 12 cars in here if we really want to. The most we usually have is 6 or 8 at most, but usually like 2 or 3, so there's plenty of room. We have a starting line, and we've built the course out in such a way that I think it's about 175 yards at this point total, including the hill climb. Probably not up and back, but whatever. So this is our very classy starting line. One thing I want everyone to know is, like, yeah, a lot of the stuff here looks kind of crappy, but we're in the Arizona desert and wood gets destroyed really fast by the sun and stuff like that. And we've put this place together on really a shoestring budget. The cost of the land, it did cost me some money to get into 10 acres, but really not much. And all the wooden stuff like that we have for the most part is just scrap that the guys that we shoot with have contributed, and we just slapped it together with chewing gum and duct tape just so we can have some stuff. Yeah, stuff gets messed up and whatever, we'll just build something new next year, and that's just kind of how we're treating it. So we've got a starting line that we use some old patio bricks for. Very opulent, very fancy, but it just gives us, we treat it kind of like the firing line. So we know that if you're in front of that line, somebody's probably hot, and that's just, we treat it that way from a safety perspective. One of our latest additions here we call the Love Shack, and we built this close to the beginning of the course. We actually used we repurposed some shitty pallets to put this together, and I actually spent like 40 or 50 bucks on 2x4s. But we use this as kind of like the first station of the course. We've got a ladder, so it's got 2 levels. You can enter through the door, kind of use these cross beams as rests and things like that. Yes, we do have all the modern appointments, like a telephone that we found out in the desert out here. You can see there's like holes and stuff in here. It doesn't have to be pretty, guys. The stuff's going to get blasted apart. Sometimes we shoot at the stuff or through the stuff, so it just kind of is what it is.
You would have killed that guy.
Ladder up, rail up there so that we can kind of go up and down. We may build on and add some different stuff to that in the future. It's really fun because shooting off the ladder is really, really challenging when you don't have anything to rest your gun on. So we learned a lot about kind of, abdominal strength and shooting off the ladder. Really cool first station.
Right, he's going switch stand.
To create this trail, I actually
switch stand.
blasted a bobcat through here with a thing down. It took a long time. I think we did it in July of 2016 or something like that. You can see we used a spare door to kind of tag this thing together, and it might have ripped down from the wind. That's just how stuff goes. This is our shoot house. Really just kind of pieced together with some some crappy wood, some stuff, construction leftovers, and we've decorated it accordingly with some spray paint that we got, you know, from somebody for free. What we use for targets out here for the most part are steel, but in here I do have some like pieces of wood and stuff in the ground so we can use paper targets, because on this particular area, you know, we like to be able to kind of spot your hits and see if you made a headshot or whatever. Yeah, it looks like some wind definitely tore through here last time, so we'll piece it back together. You know, like I said, chewing gum and duct tape, it doesn't have to be super strong, and if we get a couple years out of it, that's great. So that's the shoot house. We kind of move the walls around and things so that it's new every time, and I try to change where the targets are so that the guys don't always know where the targets are, where they're coming through. Again, not pretty, definitely not a place you'd want to bring a date, but it gets the job done. This is what used to be our first station. We call it Trump's Wall, which is definitely a tongue-in-cheek name because some of the dudes who shoot with us are Mexican, which is part of why we call it Trump's Wall, because the Mexican folks actually helped us build the wall, which is hilarious. So we've gone through some different iterations here. These are old patio blocks that I pulled out in my yard that nobody was using anymore, and at first it was just a wall, but then we created the kind of the window to shoot at the targets. What we use through the majority of the course are AR-500 steel targets. I think I got them from like Sportsman's Guide. It's just from wherever it was cheap to make it affordable. We also got smaller targets instead of bigger targets, which help keep the cost down and the challenge up. So yes, the targets are pretty close at some of these stations and they get their asses tore up pretty bad, but you know, it is what it is, and since they were cheap in the first place, it's not that big of a deal. What we use for target stands are fence posts, and the fence posts are also a really cheap, easy way to, you know, just quickly pound a new one in if it gets too shot up and repair. Some of these targets are half-size IPSC targets, like the ones I just showed you, but some of them are like quarter size, and they're really hard. They're not much bigger. If you've got an extra large hand, they're not much bigger than the palm of or your hand if you put it together, which makes for a really challenging shot with a rifle, especially freehand. So that's our second station there. You can see that the, you know, the, what do we call it, like a barricade. You know, we actually took some, there's a lizard in there cruising around. I don't know if you guys can see that. We actually took some, yeah, these things just get beat by the sun. We tried to seal these up with paint, but, you know, only gonna last so long. But, we took some inspiration from Nut and Fancy in terms of putting the barricades together and trying to make them mobile, even though they're kind of permanent here now. We'll probably do more in the future. Nice. I like the patio bricks because they don't seem to, you know, they last really good and the sun's not going to screw them up, but they're really heavy and hard to bring out. So that was another station. Coming up here, we've got a couple really cool things we do with walking targets. So this station, we call it our first walking station. We've got a target at about, you know, 8 to 10 yards here. Again, it gets tore up pretty good with rifles, but it is what it is. We don't really have too many issues with spalling, surprisingly. I've gotten hit with spall once, and another one of our guys got hit with spall once, but it was really minor, so it hasn't been a big problem. These get a lot of use. There's another one on the right. Wow, cool thing about that first walking target station is you have to shoot left and then turn right, all while walking. And I think it's a big accomplishment if you can hit both those targets with a rifle or pistol first time out. We use a lot of stuff that we find out in the desert, like these barrels. Some of these were donated by shooters. Some of them we just found floating around in the desert, and we use them as, you know, kind of like barricades, kind of like areas to kind of duck down. And here the idea is, you know, we kind of have these two barrels, and we've got this one you can kind of duck down in here and shoot between the two, or rest on the one barrel and shoot up at the targets up on the hill. Man, this place has really taken a licking since the last time we were out here, which was really only like a week or so ago. Here's another barricade. This is a big one. El Scorpion and I put this one together. And this one's holding up really good. I don't know if any of you guys are desert folks. This one he used a, we kind of busted his chops about it because he used like this oil paint. But the oily paint actually soaks into the wood really good. And despite being out here in the desert, it's really holding together well. So sealing these things up with paint definitely helps if they're going to be sitting out here.
Hit. 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 Hit.
Some more barrels, you know, stuff we use. One thing we did out here is to keep costs down is we use a lot of targets multiple times from different stations. So, you know, one target might get engaged from 3 different stations or 4 different stations, which is really pretty neat. You know, more half-size IPSC targets. A couple of the targets are down right now because we haven't put them up yet today. I figured I'd just do this walkthrough. But I'll superimpose video footage of like shooting each one of these stations from all, you know, different guys doing it through the years that we've been shooting here. So this is a cool one because if you ever watch our run and gun videos, we're actually running down through like a dry stream bed, which really throws you off. There's rocks, there's dirt.
Sounded cool.
And we call this one Phil's Revenge. It was originally supposed to be a prone shot, but frankly, we just weren't able to move enough dirt to make it like a permanent dirt prone shot. So and putting down like wood on the ground here is not the greatest idea because you can get all kinds of little creepy crawlers under there. So what we did is we used like a couple 2x4s and some tires that we found out in the desert and just screwed it together and made it like a standing and a kneeling shot, and we used the tires. So it's actually really super fun, and again, didn't cost us barely anything. And you can mix it up too, so you can go low high. You could do pistol there even though it's a really long shot. This is our second walking target, and there's only one target here. But again, like we really thought a lot about when we were designing this. We designed this in such a way that when you start, when the area starts, we use these marked rocks to know when you should start engaging the target. Once you've crossed that threshold, you can see that there's like a big bush there, and you can't really see the target until you're here. Now you've got a shot at the target, so it's kind of tough. Also, the trail curves a little bit to the left, and you're shooting to the right. So it's not a straightforward shot, and it definitely takes some practice to get used to shooting that with a rifle or a pistol. That's a really tough one with a pistol. So here's a really good example of repurposing again. We use these painted rocks to kind of locate the areas in which we're shooting, or like the stations. And you can see maybe way out on the hill out there, there's a 12-inch AR-500 gong with like a 4-inch mini gong above it. We actually shoot off the hill across over this whole course sometimes as like kind of like a plinking shooting gallery. And we put that out there. That's our 200-yard gong. But we use it in the run and gun course too. And from here, that's actually a really tough shot because at this point you've already run, you know, about 100 yards. And you're shooting all those targets, and you get out here, your gun's hot, you're dusty, you're sweaty. So a standing, you know, around 100-yard shot gets pretty tough. We have some other targets up on the hill. A couple of those are down right now. You know, again, repurposing those from Phil's Revenge. And also we've got these guys over here. We call them the Three Amigos. These guys, man, the wooden stands have taken such an ass whipping from all the spall that they get. But they're holding together good. We just patch them together here and there, and that's kind of our quick 3-shot section. This is the newest area of the course, and you can barely probably see the line going up there, but it's a hill climb section. And again, we repurposed some of the different targets to make a really challenging, like this is a real kick in the ass. At this point, you've already hustled through 100 yards, you're breathing, you're sweating. Now you got to go up this hill climb, which dude, your calves are burning halfway up this thing. It's steep. I mean, the camera probably doesn't do it justice. But we just cleared this out with our feet and kind of lined the edges with rocks to make it obvious. And then kind of cleared out areas. So that's the shooting box with the rocks. Now we're hitting that gong across the way again, standing. So at this point, I just walked up this, guys, and I can feel my heart already beating a little bit more. Kind of nuts, but really challenging. And if you ever watch our videos and you see somebody run up this and hit that in the first shot, yeah, I consider that a good accomplishment. And that person's probably doing some really excellent breathing control. Now we're at the top of the hill. There's 2 stations on the hill climb. You can see this just has the rocks there too, to kind of signify the end of the hill climb. And you might not be able to see this, but it's actually the final plate at the end is I think it's a 6-inch or an 8-inch gong. And from here it's about 80 yards. But by the time you get to the top of this hill, I mean, I'll show you the view from up here. You're breathing. I mean, I'm kind of breathing, and I just walked up it, you know, and I'm not in the best shape, guys, but, you know, I do cardio and stuff. You know, it's a lot. So this course is definitely physically demanding. It's also mentally demanding. You know, there's some, if you're really looking to get through it fast, you can't just sprint, because by the time you get to the end, you're going to be tore up. You really have to, you know, kind of use some control and pace yourself, know when to push it, know when not to push it, make up time on some of the straights where there's a little bit more space between the stations, and even just, you know, conservation of movement, efficiency of movement. It's a good place to practice at, and you don't get that in an indoor range, you don't get that in an outdoor range, and that's what makes this place so special. So here's the final area as it is today. You can see this lovely table, which again, we use that, this is just like chipboard, that El Scorpion, and I think El Scorpion and I put this together. The Beard might have been in on that too. But we use that oil paint on the top, and it's helped it hold together pretty well out here. But we'll get back to this. We have another section here, and it's a pistol area usually, but we use rifles in it sometimes too, where there's a little trail. It comes over here, and now we're repurposing some targets. This guy in the middle, this is his only station, but the guy out on the end and this guy up there on the hill, they're both repurposed. They get shot, you know, all the time. And then we mix it up in here just to kind of change things up. Sometimes we'll have it so that you walk up to this second target and engage these targets. Other times we'll just engage them all from inside that box. And now we're heading to the final shot. So if you stuck with us this far, guys, you've got to imagine, you know, hustling ass through this course, carrying mags, potentially wearing like a, you know, load bearing type of gear, holster, all that stuff. It's hot out here in the desert. We use this table as the basis for a prone shot. We've got some sandbags out here that have like exploded, but it just kind of is what it is. And we're engaging that final target. If I stabilize this, you might be able to see it way out. Way out there. I'm not doing very good here. Way out there somewhere. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it's about 116 yards on that 6-inch. I think it's a 6-inch little plate, 6 or 8 inch. And at this point in the game, you're breathing heavy. You're hot. You're sweaty. Your gun is definitely hot. So you got to know if you know you're going to have any POI shift. And I consider it a pretty big accomplishment if you score that shot in one shot at the end of the course. We've had one guy, I think, go through this course with pistol. Keep in mind that the targets range from like 8 to 10 yards to, you know, well over 100 yards. With varying size targets. We've had guys go through the course in pistol. It's really challenging with a pistol. We have had guys hit the final plate in one shot, which, you know, I'll roll that footage in. It was pretty crazy. Hit! Oh shit, nice run, dude.
Thank you. G19, baby!
Glock 19?
Glock 19.
I think for me, if I was able to connect with that plate 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 7 times, even not breathing heavy after running through the course, that would be quite an accomplishment. Really cool. We've got a bunch of saguaros out here. We're very careful not to shoot the saguaros because they're rad. And it's a pretty special time out here because you can see that the saguaros are actually blooming. And that gets me kind of how I wanted to wrap this up. And there's a lot of guys out there who shoot, and there's a lot of guys who talk on the internet and the forums and, you know, comment in the videos. And I think why we like to share these videos with everybody else is to try to motivate people to understand that, you know, shooting at an indoor range or even shooting at an outdoor range is cool, and it's a good place to practice some of those skills. But getting out into, you know, a desert environment especially, or a really cold environment, is a really good place, or the best place, besides maybe like a theater of war, which we really, none of us want to get into, to test your gear. And we do have a lot of gear failures out here. A lot, you know, mags, guns, everything. So, you know, we want to encourage you guys to get out and shoot more and do stuff like this. You don't have to buy the land. You know, you don't have to make permanent changes for the land to do stuff like this. Find a safe shooting spot, you know, maybe one away from a lot of the other jabronis out there who are, you know, flinging lead all over the place. Get out, enjoy the outdoors. You know, even if you're in a state that it's tough to do it, you know, drive the hour and a half to get out and do this kind of thing. Because, you know, for me, I work in an office job. It definitely helps me hit the reset button and, you know, kind of go back into work fresh. It's also really good physical exercise. So you get out, you know, you press yourself. And at first, when we used to do this, this was my physical exercise. But it got to a point where, you know, I kind of wanted to start getting better. So it motivated me to start, you know, doing some cardio and working out in my spare time to get better at what I like to do, which is come out here and shoot. So, you know, interested in your comments and your questions, guys. So don't hesitate to put them below. If you put something stupid, we'll probably just make fun of you. And other than that, keep tuning in. I know we haven't been putting out content very consistently, but, you know, this is a part-time thing for us. We've never been monetized. We just share this kind of information and what we're doing to, you know, share and motivate other people who might not, you know, might have interest but might not know what to do, or just might need that little shove to get off the couch. But also to learn from some other guys who might even be a lot, you know, more experienced and have more information that they could share with us, so that we could get better at it and have more fun. So on that note, Pistol Pete, signing out.